Welcome to No Romance Without Finance. I'm so excited to have our guest today. Her name is Lori Fetrick, and she is also known by her stage name Ice. She is a former American Gladiator. She competed in bodybuilding up to the national level. She's also an actress, a public speaker. She has a few shows coming out. Lori, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. I'm very excited.
Thank you. So, Lori, I am so intrigued about the Gladiators. I watch Gladiators and I watched you. So I just feel like, I'm such a fan and I really enjoyed it. And I always remember looking at the women and wondering how it was for them. And the reason I ask that is because I've worked out my entire life, right? So in the 80s, I remember I was the only woman in the weight room. Now there are a lot more women, right? But I was the only woman in the weight room. It was men all around me. And, it was really annoying because they were hitting on me because they're not used to having women around, right? And today, there's more women, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But how was your experience being a gladiator and a woman in such a male-dominated industry?
Great question, Patty. It's interesting enough. I mean, when you're right, when I started even just working out myself, I was exactly the same way. I went into the weight room. All the women were doing aerobics back in the
Right.
day. It was like ballets. I mean, I'm going to
Jane
age my
Fonda, that whole thing.
exactly. And they had all their tights on. I was like, well, let me try to give this shot, kind of a shot. And so I would do a little aerobics and I kept eyeing the weight room and I was like, God, I want to go over there. So yeah, I eventually got into the weight room and started lifting, and that was back then is when like Gladys Portugal and Rachel McClish was in the bodybuilding. So I got into that, and that was a huge male dominant industry, as you know. And then once I got into gladiators, I mean, same exact thing,
Right.
very male dominant. We it was hard. I'm going to be very honest with you. It was
Sure.
very hard because we kept seeing in the gladiators, like, a lot of the personal appearances would go to the males or,
Hmm.
more, just autograph signings and stuff like that. And, they would get different things. I want to say they'd get more. Let's put it that way.
Right. Right.
So it was such a hard pill to swallow. But at the time, there was not a lot we could do. We could complain
Sure.
and bitch and do that
Sure.
kind of,
Sure.
but there wasn't a lot that we could do to rectify the situation and change it. You just kind of, I mean, being an A+ personality myself as well, it was a hard pill to swallow. And I
Sure.
was
And were they
con
making more money than the women?
well, come to find out, there were a couple gladiator males that I know on the television show. Yeah, they made a little bit more money, but definitely when we hit the tour and went 6 months
Hmm.
around the United States, um, two, three, four of the males were absolutely making more money.
Wow.
And so that was also like, whoa, hold on a second.
Right.
This
Right.
is ridiculous. We're doing just as much work,
Hmm.
and if anything, we're getting more of the males coming in to see the females,
Right. Right. Exactly.
why are they making more money?
Right.
It was just the male dominant industry at the time.
And you know what? That still exists today, unfortunately. And, we women are still making 83 cents to a dollar of a man and for the same job, right? And I
Right.
think that we feel powerless at times to try to negotiate our salary. And for me, I held out 4.5 months on an offer because I knew that my male counterpart was making more money than the offer that they gave me. And I refused to settle for anything less. And I wanted more than he was making because I was a better performer than him. Like my track record was so much better than his, but they were giving him more money. I was like, no way. This is the sword I'm going to die on. So were you able to negotiate? Did you ever think about even negotiating? Because back then, I don't think that that was a thing, right?
Well, in a lot of television shows, it absolutely, what I'm about to say is true across the board, and it doesn't matter. Television shows, it's very hard to negotiate.
Right.
It's like we had a contract to where it said basically in the if you don't want to do this, we'll get it to somebody else.
Right.
And that's really how it was. We got, I mean, this kind of went across the board, but we didn't get any merchandising rights. We didn't get anything. We had toys and we had Nintendo
Wow.
games. And we had, you name it, we had it. And we were the most underpaid television show on the air.
Oh my
We were
gosh.
like, there's scale. Okay.
Sure.
So when it comes to AFTRA and scale, okay. So even dating back when I was in AFTRA, and that's before the two unions merged. So back then we're on like the bottom tier
Right.
of, scale. So we were getting something like stupid, like $400, $500 a show.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was just, and plus no merchandising rights. Oh, so I say we, and this was like three of us. And I talk about this on my podcast one time, and that was if I would have known back then what I know now,
Right.
I would never, yes, we tried to negotiate the contract and we held out and we got fired.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
And
So,
so, go ahead.
no, go ahead, please.
Well, I was just going to say at that point in time, it's just like, are you kidding me? And that was an eye-opening experience because of the fact that we're a team, right? Of course, American Gladiators team, 5 guys, 5 girls. Well, the problem was there was only 3 of us, and we were the headliner names, though. We were like the biggest gladiators, and I was talked into, hey, they won't get rid of us. There's merchandising, our faces are all over everything.
Right.
And no, if you're going to actually change any kind of contract whatsoever and you're part of a team, you need the entire team, or you need at least 3/4 of the team to hold out. Then you get maybe a little bit more negotiating power, but not just the 2 or the 3 or 4 stars.
So when you say if I knew then what I know now, is that what you're referring to, that you need the team together?
Absolutely. If you're gonna negotiate an actual contract and you're part of a team, you have to stick together. There is no let's pull 3 out of the 10 and we'll negotiate. No, that's not going to happen.
Okay. Okay, that's
So
very useful information.
yeah, it just doesn't work that way, and it doesn't matter if you are the top dog, whatever it may be, they will get rid of you. You need the entire team. So the negotiating, even if I were to go in and negotiate my own personal contract, there is no negotiating. In television, it's kind of like, hey, if you want this, this is what we're offering you. And of course, this is different when it comes to the A plus Jennifer Aniston's, Tom Hanks. Those are just,
Of course.
those don't even count.
Of course. Of course. Yes.
The normal players that play in the industry on a day-to-day basis and their actors, it's very hard to negotiate any type of contract. You either want it or they'll just replace you and get someone else. That's just the way it is.
Right. And it's not only in television. I feel like it is just an entertainment period. One, my fiance is a musician, and there is a very famous singer. I'm not going to name her by name, but I mean, she is like one of the top female singers in the world. Okay.
Yeah.
So she had a band. It was men and women together. And then someone suggested, hey, it would be cool if you had an all-female band. Okay.
Yeah.
So great. She gets rid of the male musicians, hires all-female band, pays them half of what she was paying the men. Half.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
that is a true story. And
That's insane.
yes. So you look at her and you're like, oh my gosh, her entire band is female. She's all about female empowerment, but she's paying them half. And to be fair, she doesn't necessarily make those decisions, right? I mean, the promoters, the people that are putting on the show, but she has a say so. She can definitely put her foot down and say, these people should make just as much.
Well, here's the thing. If she had a band before and they
Correct.
were going out and they were paying the guys X
Correct.
amount of dollars, well, why wouldn't, I mean, they obviously had the money, they had the budget to pay them exactly the same amount.
Right. Exactly.
And it's crazy. And
Yeah.
I mean, even today it's going on, which is insane. I just can't even believe it's still going on today.
Right, right. And female musicians that I know that are good friends of mine, again, they get lowballed all the time. all the time. And
Okay.
I,
Are we still back in the
I know,
archaic
I know.
days? It's
It's
crazy.
yes, it's really crazy. And so one of my main purposes is to bring this to women's attention and understand that, I understand maybe in the entertainment business or in TV, you can't negotiate, but at least you can try, right? You can
Oh,
at least
100%.
try. You could,
Yeah,
don't just take the first offer. And
right.
for me, I'm doing, I'm not, a TV star or anything like that, but I do things where they pay me, and I
Yep.
never take the first offer ever.
And
Period.
well, it's interesting too because if I've learned this in a long time ago, I've learned this just in personal appearances. They'll be like, "Well, what's your pay? What do you get going out?" And I learned a long time ago to have them actually make me an offer first. you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
because like I'll go, okay, well, it's going to be X amount of dollars. Let's just say, $5,000 for the day of signing. And all of a sudden they go, okay, not a problem. And I go, oh man, that
Yeah.
means that when they automatically go, oh, okay, you go, oh, that was it right there. I could have gotten at least $2,000 or $3,000 more, So
Right.
I learned a long time ago, and I'm like, well, what is your first offer?
Exactly.
And then I'll
Sure.
go into negotiating.
Sure. And I think we as women are not taught to negotiate. We as women are not taught our value,
We're
right?
not trying anything.
Right. We're just taught to be quiet,
Yeah.
take what you can get. You're so lucky to get this job. You're so lucky that somebody wants to work with you. I'm like, screw that. I bring value to the table.
100%. And that brings me back to when I was growing up as a kid. And my parents were born in the 40s. And so very, very old school. They got out of high school, got married. My dad supported the family, blah, blah, blah. Well, as I was growing up, all of a sudden that kind of started trickling down because my grades in high school were not all that. I was so into sports, that's all I wanted to play.
Right.
And so my grades were just getting by just so that I could play. Because I was an athlete. And
Sure.
so I remember my parents, I mean, seriously, there was no guidance. There was no like, okay, this is what we want you to do. We want you to be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever you want to be, but something. There was none of that. It was literally, oh, she'll get married and someone will take care of her.
Oh,
That was the
oh,
mentality in my household growing up for me.
wow.
And so in this day and age, I'm just like, every person that has a child, when I'm having this conversation, I'm like, please give them direction, do something for them.
Right.
Because, thank God I'm a hustler. Thank God I have the personality that I have, and I got introduced to the world. And that's something else I did. I got introduced to the world of money. I didn't know what it was like. I didn't
Right.
know what it was like to have money because we were a pretty, I'm going to say middle class slash poor,
Right.
growing up. And so I didn't have anything to compare anything to. So when I got Gladiators and I got started, picking up by limos, flying first class, staying in five-star hotels, being around people that had money, all of a sudden I went, wow, this is a whole nother lifestyle.
Yep.
And I loved it.
Who doesn't? It's a great
I
lifestyle.
loved it. So then it was just like, all right, how do I keep this? How do I sustain this? You
Right.
know,
And so, what did you do to keep it and sustain it?
I learned how to, wow, I learned how to hustle. I learned how to go after things that I wanted without fear. So in other words, with Gladiators, I realized, I wanted to do more television. I wanted to do more personal appearances. I wanted to do possibly endorse products. Have my own things. So I started, asking people and being around people, influential people. People that were to where I looked up to them as mentors.
Right.
And so I started creating for myself, is what I started doing. And I got some great guidance from some amazing mentors in the industry and just in life in general. And it comes down to money, you know, just
Right.
like what you're talking about, you know, your podcast is all about, and that is learning, learning
Yes.
how to financially get more and gain more. I don't even want to say wealth because I wasn't wealthy, but
Hmm.
more money, you
Right.
know, and being able to take care of myself. So I just started thinking outside the box, and I had to take the fear away from failure. Patty, if I told you everything that I've ever started in my life that never took off, and I just
Yes.
keep going and keep going.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. You know, there's a meme I saw the other day. It says, millionaire has two L's in it. So you have to take a few L's before you can become a millionaire. So you got to
Oh,
lose. And I say this over and over again. I have failed a lot more than I've won.
oh,
I
me
mean,
too.
oh God, I have failed at so many different things, you know, that I've really tried. But I
Yeah,
think the point is just to keep going.
keep
Don't
going.
let failure stop you. Don't let failure make you afraid of keep going. Because, you know, I failed and I'm like, okay, so I failed. I didn't die, right? Like nothing tragic happened. I'm still alive. So let me just try this or try that. And I think a lot of women just feel like, oh my gosh, I failed, or they don't have confidence in themselves that they can't do it or that they don't have the skills. And I want to tell every woman out there that's listening, it doesn't matter.
It
It
doesn't matter.
it
You
doesn't
will,
matter.
you know what? You're gonna laugh at this, but I used to have a little saying in my head: "Fake it until you make it."
Yes.
And that is kind of like, and then I started getting into some different programs and, you know, like, I don't want to say Tony Robbins, but, you know, it's similar to
Sure.
those.
Hmm.
And it was more along the lines of be, do, have. And,
Yes.
and what that means that I finally, it sunk in is be that person that you want to be in the future, but you've got to be it now.
Right.
Then you got to take the steps to get to that. And then in the end you have. So
I
be, do,
love it.
have. You got to start with yourself. Absolutely. You got to believe in yourself. You've got to have that self confidence and that self worth. And if you don't, fake it until you get it. Just,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yes.
that day to day attitude when you wake up in the morning.
Yep. And I will say this until the day I die. I have never been qualified for any job that I've ever gotten.
Me neither.
Period.
Me
Ever.
neither.
Ever. I mean, I have just acted as if, like you were saying,
Yes,
I faked it until I made it. I went into that interview acting like, yes, I can do this, even though I didn't have any idea what I was doing.
I
Right?
love that. Love that because that's exactly what I've done my entire life.
Yes, and that's so important because I talk about this. There's a Forbes study that came out, and I'm sorry, not a Forbes study, a Hewlett Packard study that came out, and they were wondering why women were not applying for the promotions, they weren't applying for the upper level jobs, they couldn't figure it out. So they did this study, and they found that in order for a woman to apply for a job, she felt like she had to meet 100% of the requirements.
Yeah.
Men, on the other hand, 50%.
Yeah.
If they met 50% of the requirements, like, hey, why not? Let me just throw my hat in there.
That's one of the difference. Well, and that comes down to hormones as well. The men have
Yes.
that testosterone to where it's like, I'm
Yes.
going to do this. I don't care if I fail. Let's go. And it gives them that self-worth. Women are the same way. And as we get older, the women that lose that testosterone, they lose that edge. They lose that. So I hate to go there, but because being in
Sure.
and everything else, it is one of the things. And I can say that because like right now my girlfriend, she just finished sonography school, so she's going to be an ultrasound tech, and she went through the school for 3 years, and now she's starting to apply, and she's literally like, there's a pep talk every day, like, okay, so you haven't been in that scenario before, you haven't been in a hospital setting before, but guess what, you can do this, and they will
Sure.
teach you as you go, because
Exactly.
every single company, no matter if it's hospital or company, they will teach you their way of doing things.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And you have to be, I think you have to be confident enough within yourself to know that you're going to figure it out. Just take the
100%.
damn job. Just
Yes.
go in, pretend that you deserve it. 9 times out of 10, they'll give you that job.
And
That's what
most
happens with me.
yeah,
I'm
you're
sorry.
right. And most men have that attitude.
Right. Right.
And women, I don't know why they don't. I
I
don't understand that part.
Yeah, I think it's because the way that we've been inculcated as children to think, to not boast, right? To, be humble. I
Play
don't
small.
know.
Play small.
Yes, exactly. Play small. And we act
So,
small at work.
yeah.
The way that we walk around at work, the way we carry ourselves, our body language, all of that, we act small. And men act big, and the dude that meets 50% of those requirements is getting the damn job. That's
There
an
you have
F.
it. There you
50% is an
have it.
F,
Yeah, there you have it, and that's very true. I don't know. Are women, are we taught from the very beginning to kind of sit back and play small, and it's kind of like, I hate to use it, but be seen and not heard. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But that's so not me. That's so not my personality. And so through my life, I've been accused certain times of, oh, she's a little arrogant. No, I'm confident in what I do. So, and by
Absolutely.
the way, the arrogant comments come from men,
For
not women.
sure. For sure. I mean, arrogant, bossy, right?
Yes.
Aggressive
Yes.
versus
Yes.
the guy is confident, he's
Yes.
decisive,
Yes.
it's the same exact thing that we could do as the guy. And again, he's going to be seen in the positive way. He's
Yeah.
confident, he's decisive, whereas we're just
Right.
arrogant and bossy. And
Okay,
anytime,
we'll go one step further. When men get gray, they get distinguished and
yes.
handsome. Women go gray and they're like old.
100%. Yes, yes. It's just such a double standard. And I've gotten to a
Yeah.
point, Lori, when someone says, and I still get this, Patty, you're a little bossy, you're aggressive. I say thank you. Because
Yeah.
that just means that I'm getting shit done, and they just are not used to a woman acting that way in
Right.
their presence. So they
Right.
will call you bossy, they will call you aggressive, and I say it's a means to muzzle you so that you
Yeah.
play small so that they're not intimidated by your presence.
And that's it right there. It's an intimidation. And
Yep.
even like oh my God, I went through that so my entire life, and that is with my bodybuilding and the way my physique looks, it's very intimidating to some men.
Yes.
Very intimidating.
Yes.
And so I used to say, I used to laugh at him and go, as long as you're secure with your masculinity, you should be fine with me.
Put it back on them. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it. So, Laura, you've managed to be so successful in everything that you do. Were you always good with money? Was there a time where, money was a challenge for you, or maybe in a relationship?
God, there's such a double standard in my head, right? When you said that, you're so good with money, and one side of me goes, "Yes, you are," and the other side goes, "Wow, who are you fooling?"
Oh, yep.
No, money. I can't say I've always been great with money. I've learned a lot along the way. And that is that I've learned that I wanted to make my own money because of the fact that, again, growing up watching my family, my mom, housewife, didn't have her own money, dad worked. And as I got into some of different industries after Gladiators, real estate industry was amazing for me, to a way big eye opener, because when a husband and wife is, let's say selling a house or something, and their names are on the title, I would say almost 95% of women were like, "Oh, I didn't know that about the house. Oh, I didn't know that about the finances. Oh, do we have 3 bank accounts? Oh," I mean, literally, I'm just like, wow.
Oh,
Because you have to deal with the husband and wife.
yes.
I was so blown away by how many women had no clue what was going on in their household at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of started transitioning into a little financial of selling, doing a little bit of life insurance with some of the real estate. That was even a bigger eye opener.
Really? So tell us about that.
Oh, the life insurance industry and women and men. First of all, men, we all know this, very big statistic that most of the time men die before women.
Yeah.
So we would want to go in and help the family set up for later date.
Right.
Do you realize that some of the men out there, 50% of the men were like, well, why do I want to pay for life insurance for my wife to have money after I'm dying and enjoy it with someone else? I was like, are
Insane.
you kidding
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're setting this up for you if you die because of the fact that you're the major breadwinner,
Right.
and your wife cannot sustain this household with her children if you pass away.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't you want to take care of them? And I kid you not, I have had some of the men go, I'm dead. I don't care.
Wow. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that was a huge eye opener to where most of the women had no idea where their finances were, where their checking account were, how to even access some
Mm-hmm.
of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask
Mm-hmm.
them, okay, if your husband passed away tomorrow,
Right.
what would you do? They
Right.
just go, I don't know.
Exactly.
Well, why don't you set yourself up? Because it's going to happen inevitably one day it's going to happen, you
Right.
know? So we would just, it was such a huge eye opener. So, I mean, kind of going back to me, when I was in the industry and going through my career and still and whatever, and in my relationships, I always wanted to make my own money
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that I didn't want to be in a position of, I want to pick that person over there because they can financially take care of me.
Amen.
Absolutely not. I did not want that for myself.
Amen.
I wanted to be able to pick the person that I wanted to be with. I don't care what their finances were, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
again, I do.
Right. Well, because you listen, the reason you care is because it's not that you're a gold digger, but you don't want to take care of somebody else. You got to take. They have to be able to take care of themselves, right? It's not about being a gold digger.
Right. And 9 out of 10 of my relationships, I've always been the breadwinner. So I was always the one, you know, paying the majority of the bills, but they always pitched in. They always had some type of career. I just happened to be the bigger breadwinner. But I did notice as when maybe I was single in between relationships, and if I did meet some of these people, and I'm going to be honest with you, some of the men or women, because at the time before I had my girlfriends, yeah, I was dating men too. The ones that had the money were either very controlling, very arrogant. I didn't want that.
Yep.
I didn't want that.
I know.
And so
I know.
therefore I had to go, I'm going to make my own money. And there was one particular incident as I was growing up. Did I have gladiators? Yes, I had the gladiators. So it was in my early 30s. And I won't mention his name, but he was a huge gentleman in the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
Tons and tons of money. I mean, just
Right.
very wealthy. And yet, I wasn't physically attracted to him. Um, he was a pretty good alcoholic,
Wow.
and we would have great conversations and stuff when we'd go to
Mm-hmm.
dinner. And he wanted to be with me so bad. He wanted to marry me. He offered me things. I couldn't do it. And people would, I mean, my friends would look at me and go, "Are you crazy? You could be set up for life." And I go,
Right.
"Yeah, but that life I'd be setting myself up would be completely controlled by someone else."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because nothing in this world is free.
No,
Money is only an exchange of energy. If you're accepting money from someone, they're going to want something back, and it's typically control.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's when I just went, no. And of course, there are
Yeah.
times that, you go through your life and it's like a little money struggle here, a little money struggle there. And I'm like, oh, why didn't I do that? But I'm very happy. I'm very content with my life and how it's been playing out. And I mean, when it comes to different things, when you said, "Are you good with money? Are you bad?" I'm great with money. I'm just not great with the stock market.
Nobody is.
I
That's why
know.
you have to invest long term. Nobody is,
And
you
and
know?
that's really what it comes down to. It's like the money that I have in the stock market right now. I'm like, everybody's like, "Oh my God, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen." I'm like, I'm just letting it ride.
That's exactly how you need to do it. And you know, a lot of people don't know this, especially women. You know, I'm having an event Tuesday, June 20th in Beverly Hills, where we're teaching women how to invest. Because, you know, they're like, oh, they think that you buy and you sell within the same day, within the same month, within whatever. And that's not it. You have to really let it ride.
Right.
But I want to go back to something that you said about, you know, people were saying that you would be set for life. My most miserable time in my life was when I was with a man who had more money than God, who we would fly to San Francisco for dinner, like that kind of money,
Yeah.
okay? And I was so miserable.
Yeah.
So miserable. He was so controlling. He was cheating on me. He was, you know, like just all of that. And I remember sitting in, it was New Year's Eve. I was at the Bellagio New Year's Eve VIP party. I think, honestly, I think Jennifer Lopez was like the
Wow.
performer. Like that's
Yeah.
the type of party it was, if I'm
Yeah.
remembering correctly. And I remember sitting there with him, looking around, going, "This is everything I've ever wanted, and I am so miserable because I was so unhappy."
A lot of women are.
Yeah.
You could see it in their faces when it comes to something like
Yep.
that, and that's so sad because a lot of women out there. Obviously I can't speak for all of them, but you know there are women out there that feel like they're so stuck, and they're stuck because they don't have anything on their own. They're stuck because they've never had the confidence to have their own career. They never
Yep.
had the confidence to have their own money.
Right.
So therefore, they feel stuck.
Sure.
But you didn't because obviously, I mean, you might have at the time, but you know, you
I
took
got
that.
myself out.
There you go. Exactly. You
Yeah,
got
and
out.
I was fortunate enough to where I had a career, you know.
Mm.
I had a career. I was a lawyer, I was in finance, I was making plenty of money. So it's not even that I needed him for money. It was just that the level of things that we were doing were more than I could provide for myself. And at first you think this is so cool. We're flying to San Francisco for dinner and flying back, you know, like
Oh, I know.
who
I mean,
who does that?
exactly. This one gentleman, we flew to Vegas, and he literally hands me $10,000 and goes, "Go have fun."
Right.
Are you kidding me? I was
I
like,
know,
"Wait a
I
minute.
know.
Do I get to keep whatever I win?"
Can I shop with this? That would have been my first
Right?
question.
I'm like, okay, I'm like this. I'm like, oh, really? God, now I got to sleep with you. It's like,
Yes. Yes. It's not worth it,
you know,
ladies. It's
it's
not worth
not.
it. No,
It's really not.
it's not. And you know, I'm not going to say this about all men that are wealthy. There are exceptions to every rule, but I'm
And they're all
telling you,
taken and gone.
right. Exactly. But I can tell you that every single man I know that has been super wealthy that I know, okay, again, there are exceptions. They have wanted something in return from the woman that stifled the woman, that made her unhappy, made her, you know, be under his control. And at the end of the day, it's not worth it. So if you think about being a gold digger, I'm telling you, that's not the right move.
It's not. You can't do that. I mean, the entertainment industry, the whole Me Too movement, that was so huge. I can't necessarily say that I was part of it, but I was kind of part of it
Right.
when I was in the industry, meaning that I remember going to dinners or going different places to meet different producers, thinking that it was going to get me that one level up. And it always came down to, are you going to sleep with me?
Wow.
And it was just like, you're kidding me. And at the time, they didn't care if I was bisexual or gay or whatever it may be. It was still that way. And then sometimes I would think back on my career, and this is even more sad. I'd be like, wow, did being gay in this industry hold me back from actually getting further in the industry. Because I always think in the back of my head, it's just like, well, if I weren't gay, then I'd be meeting more gentlemen, more producers. But then again, I'm still kind of in that position to where if I do want that, it's going to come down to, am I going to sleep with them?
Right.
And nobody wants to be put in that position.
Nobody.
But when you're dealing with men that have power
Right.
and money, you're absolutely right. They're gonna want something in return.
And if I can maybe put in my 2 cents about you being gay, did it prevent you from getting where you need to go? I think you being gay probably had protected you, because
I think
maybe if you weren't, you'd be open to sleeping with these guys.
you're right. And then you're right.
You know?
I would be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
rather than, I mean, and again, I was still, at that time, I was still kind of, pretty bisexual too. So
Right.
I always
Right.
say I had the best of both worlds.
Sure.
To be honest with you, women in the industry that were gay, that had money and power, acted the same way like men. And I kid you not, they still were like, what are you going to
Wow.
give me? What are you going to give me? And I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Because money
You
is
know,
power. Doesn't matter
money is
whether you're
power.
woman, man, or whatever, gay, straight. Money is power, and
Yeah.
they're not afraid to use it.
And usually the one that has the most money is the one that calls the shots in the household.
Almost every time. I mean, again,
Yeah,
exceptions occur,
absolutely.
but almost every
Yes.
time. So,
Yes.
this has been so interesting. I loved having you on. Can you please tell the audience some of the things that you have coming up? Because I just think are fantastic that they should know
Thank
about.
you. Thank you. I was on the American Gladiators for about 8 to 9 seasons, and that was, God, 30 years ago. They finally came out and made a documentary. They made two documentaries, but I am on the Netflix documentary that's coming out June 28th, and there's going to be a
Excellent.
5-part series. So it's
Yes.
very exciting. So I might have another 5 or 10 minutes in the limelight again, which
Great.
is
Great.
interesting. I've actually been trying. I mean, it's like being proactive. I knew this was coming up, so therefore, yes, I started my podcast, Chilling with Ice,
Great.
to where I have right now. I was just interviewing all the gladiators, getting their backstory, who they are, getting to know them
Wonderful.
better, to where nobody's done that.
Right.
So the Netflix series is coming out June 28th. There was an ESPN documentary, and I mentioned that because a lot of people get it confused. That ESPN documentary came out on about a week and a half ago, and that's more about the creator of our show, Johnny Farro. Literally has nothing to do with us gladiators whatsoever. No, like there's like maybe 3 or 4 of them on there.
Okay.
But so yeah, I have that coming out in Netflix, and so I'm super excited about
What's it
that.
called on Netflix? What's this show called?
Muscles and Mayhem.
Ah, I love it.
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
love it. I think it's cool. It's catchy. That's what you want. It's a catchy name.
Yeah, so that's Netflix. They have their own
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they do us justice because when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to documentaries, there's a lot that's left on the editing floor.
Yes.
So we're hoping and we'll see that they do us justice. But it's been a great ride. My ride's not over yet.
No, absolutely
Really
not.
excited for the future.
And you look fantastic, by the way, because most of the bodybuilders that I know from the 80s don't look like you.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, really, you're still so fit, you're so beautiful, and you're so full of light. So I'm so happy that you were able to keep up, just not only mentally, but physically, and you have so much going on. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you?
You can find me. I have a couple websites. One is chillinwithice.com that has all my podcast. I also have a little store associated with it, Ice T-shirts. Ice T-shirts.
Oh, cool. I love that name.
Thank you. And then basically my social handles are Lori, and that's spelled Lori, Ice Fetrick. So Lori Ice Fetrick on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook. So just really two, Lori Ice Fetrick and Chillin With Ice. And yeah, I mean, the future is, I plan on living to be 100. So I still have
Great.
like 40 years left.
I love it, Lori. You know what? I bet you're going to do it, and I'm going to watch you keep rising. Thank you so much for being on the show. You provided us with just such valuable information, and hopefully we'll have you back on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Listeners, thank you for joining us. Until next time, remember that a man is not a financial plan, and we're off.